Welcome back to the Kia Hyundai channel. My name's Gabi.
I'm Michael.
And this is the 2025 Kia Telluride SX. Now, in its simplest explanation, the Telluride SX gives you the most seats with the most available comfort and technology. But it gets a little bit more complicated than that. In today's walkthrough, we're going full in depth with everything you need to know about this specific trim level for the Telluride. We'll go in depth on the powertrain, talk about the transmission, the tech, the safety, the functions, and of course the price point. And disclaimer, if you are watching from the States, that's no reason to stop, but we are based here in Canada where the pricing is going to be a little bit different, but so is the actual specs of the vehicle. So you might find some things on our SX model that yours may not necessarily have, but nonetheless, because this is a live stream and if you are watching, you can ask us questions in real time if you'd like clarification or if there's just anything else you'd like to know about this car. Now, Michael, should we get into it?
Yes.
All right. Mike's going to grab the camera. I'm going to start off with the price point. Now, this specific vehicle in this specific trim level is priced at $55,995 Canadian. That's exactly $5,000 more than the EX trim level below it. And the EX trim level also has 8 seats. So where does this vehicle kind of add its extra edge? It's in the tech department, you guys. I'll get into that, but first we'll talk about the front end. First things first, in terms of styling upgrades, you get a revised front grille. So you'll notice we have a little bit of this satin chrome, I want to say. So it's not exactly chrome in the sense that it's very bright. It's a little bit more diluted, and I think it flows with the rest of the accents on the car nicely. And you get a nice black / almost graphite finish for the actual insert of the grille. Your Kia emblem is finished in a beautiful brushed aluminum, and you have your front end camera right over there. So this front camera is actually one of the many found on this vehicle. We got one in the front, one in the back for your reverse camera, of course, but we also have some on our side mirrors. I'll get more in depth to that later. Let me just turn the lights back on because they've timed out. So lighting on this vehicle, you have full LEDs. Now LEDs for your main headlamp, your high, your low beam, but also LED amber lights for the daytime running lights. If you've been looking at the Telluride for quite a while, you may notice that in the previous generation styling, we had an LED surrounding the entire unit. That's no longer the case. I do think this looks more modern, but you still get the beautiful amber finish, so not everything is that stark white. You get some warm tones to it. This will also, of course, be your hazard lights and your turn signal indicators. So nice, bright, everyone on the road will be able to see when you're indicating. Also on your front end, you're going to get the inclusion of forward-facing parking sensors. So that's going to start on the SX trim level. You'll notice them here. We got our circular sensor. We've got 4 up at the front. They kind of extend towards the side. So I'll have Michael kind of pan over towards them. This will, of course, provide some audible feedback inside the cabin to you as the driver when you approach something a bit too close. So without a doubt, this is a larger car, and that comes with a little bit more, I guess, precision with your parking. Features like this really help you out, especially if this is a pretty big size upgrade from your last car. You got your LED fog lamps down at the bottom. Again, very bold, very bright, and LEDs, so they'll last a long time. A couple more design flares on the lower section of the grille, and right in the very center we have a radar plate. Now this vehicle is going to come equipped with highway drive assist as well as advanced smart cruise control, but it also adds in the advanced forward collision avoidance. So what does that mean? Well, just like the EX model, it will warn you if there's a risk of a collision and apply brake force, but it has a more broad range of driving situations where it can sense the risk. So if you're at a very busy intersection and you go to make a left-hand turn and there's someone flying past you in the oncoming lane, the car will warn you and hit the brakes if it senses that that could be a risk of a collision. The same is true for pedestrians and cyclists, so whether you're on the highway or in the city, the vehicle is constantly scanning if there's a risk and will warn you and take action. So it's all active functions that can be shut off if you're not a fan of them. All right, I think it's now time to talk about the powertrain, so let me pop the hood and we can get right into that. Now, all trim levels of the Telluride here in Canada, and the same is true for the States, there's only one powertrain option, so there's no performance upgrades really within the lineup, other than in terms of towing capacity, but more on that later. This vehicle, you get a nice hydraulic hood. Always got to point that out. We have a 3.8 liter naturally aspirated V6 gasoline direct injection engine. This will provide you with 291 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. Very healthy horsepower and torque numbers. This vehicle also has 5,000 pounds of towing capacity. Now, when you hop over to the X Pro trim level, you'll see that towing capacity go up 500 pounds. That's just due to enhanced cooling for the transmission. But nonetheless, 5,000 pounds is a very nice number to have on a vehicle like this. And if you are towing with the vehicle, it has trailer anti-sway control. So it is prepped for towing. This car also has a regular 8-speed automatic transmission, so I know Everyone loves to have a regular automatic, but especially if you are someone who plans on, again, towing with this vehicle, it is very reassuring to know there's no CVT or dual clutch in the vehicle, just a regular, smooth shifting automatic transmission. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, let's take a look at the wheels now. These wheels, I think they're stunning. They are a beautiful machined finished 20-inch alloy wheel with a Michelin all-season tire. You get ventilated disc brakes up at the front, and just a beautiful tire. Beautiful wheel, I should say. The tire is tire, but it's a Michelin one. It's a pretty good one. Surrounding your wheel, we have a very nice black plastic arch. I like how it's a darker finish and not necessarily a gray that we see in some of our other cars. It matches nicely with the rest of the black accents on the vehicle. So I'm pointing at the mirror now. There's some of it. You also get a bit of body color, and then we have our camera that I spoke about earlier. Now this camera does a couple different things. Number one, it's one of the many viewpoints that give you your full 360-degree view, but it also has the added function of providing you with blind spot view monitoring. So that means if you're making a right to go make a right, you're making a full right-hand turn, you'll see everything that's in your right blind spot. It also means that if you're parallel parking up against a curb, you can exactly see where your wheels are in relation to the curb, so make sure you're not scuffing those beautiful wheels. It's also great for merging lanes on the highway, anything like that, because you'll know if there's a vehicle there, if there's a cyclist there, a motorcyclist. It should always be clear in your line of view. I still recommend always doing your shoulder check, but this is just an added barrier of, awareness. On the flip side though, this isn't exactly a new feature, but nonetheless, it's still very nice to have. You have an indicator in your mirror that will illuminate if there's something in your blind spot. So regardless of if you have your turn signal on or off, you will just have that light giving you a gentle reminder that there is something there. And then of course, when you do flip your turn signal over, it'll beep at you if there's actively something in your blind spot. All right, now back to some comfort functions. Your door handles. So number one, they look good. You have that satin chrome finish up at the top with the body color on the bottom. You also get digital key entry. So what that means is it's just another way to get in and out of your vehicle. You can pair your smartphone to the car itself and use your phone to unlock, lock, and drive your car. Sounds pretty complicated, but it's very simple to using Apple Pay or your Google Wallet when paying at a restaurant or anything really. So it's just another added technology function, which I think is pretty great. You don't have to use it, and if you don't use it, you still have a bit of a keyless experience. So as long as the key is somewhere on you, it could be in your pocket or in your bag, you simply walk up to the car, put your hand behind the handle, and the vehicle, based off proximity, will sense that you're there with the key and unlock the car for you. Once you're done driving, you can simply press on the indent on the handle to lock it. So lots of different ways of getting in and out of your car. If you're old-fashioned, you can always still pull the key out of your pocket, hit the unlock button, and get in the same way. Pillars. Pillars are going to have a nice gloss black finish, and you still have the beautiful satin chrome along the belt line of the vehicle and right up at the top. Same thing with your roof rails. It's all the same finish, so while we do have a bit of mixed materials, the gloss black and of course the satin, it just flows very nicely because those same elements are repeated throughout the car. For your rear suspension, it's a multi-link rear, so nicely handles nicely, I should say, not nicely handled, but I guess that too. And then towards the back end of the car, let's point out the taillights first. You get these very nice LED tail lamps, cool design, and then right up at the top, we have our high-mounted brake lamp. If there's one critique I can make for the Telluride, and I'm sure in its next model reveal or refresh, we'll have this fix. I would love to see the rear wiper integrated underneath the spoiler, but again, we have a rear wiper and we're grateful for that. It's there, it's simple, it works. Your Telluride badging is in the same finish as the actual Kia emblem, so same thing, that brushed aluminum. And of course, we get a power lift. Let's open it up. You can adjust the height setting on this as well too, so if it's a bit too tall for you, you can bring it down to whatever you'd like. And you'll see our rear seats in the third row. So 3 seats in the very back, 3 seats in the middle, 2 seats up front. What does that equate to? 8 seats. Again, this is the highest capacity seating for the Telluride with the largest amount of technology as well. Because everything above this trim level will revert you down to a 7-seat configuration. And sure, you can get more technology, maybe a couple extra comfort functions, but you're missing that 1 seat. So back here, we can knock these seats down. Each of them have car seat tethers. Each of them, I mean two. We'll knock this down, and you can see how they fold. So completely flat, very easy to bring back up if needed because these latches are integrated onto Velcro, so they'll stay in place, provided you put them back on the Velcro. We don't always do that. Underneath the floorboard, you have space, and there is a spare tire. Now the spare itself is actually located underneath the vehicle, so it's going to be a little bit hard for Michael to film. Michael's also operating on low power mode. He didn't get a lot of sleep yesterday, so don't ask him any questions. Along the back end, we'll also talk about just the rear bumper before I close this up. So again, a little bit of that satin finish. Rear parking sensors, always a great thing to have, and a single-sided twin-tip exhaust. So you can see the two exhaust outlets on the right-hand side of the vehicle, or passenger side, I should say. Close this up now. Alrighty. Now we'll talk about fuel. So this vehicle has a larger fuel tank. It's a larger car, of course. 71-liter tank, and it averages about 11.1 liters per 100 kilometers. That's going to be combined, so highway and city driving. It's also an all-wheel drive vehicle. So for Kia, we typically do an all-wheel drive with a front-wheel drive bias. That means if it's a beautiful sunny day like we finally have today, it's going to be primarily front-wheel drive, especially if you're driving on pavement. However, if you make a turn onto a muddy road or a gravel road, the vehicle will redistribute torque to power the rear wheels as well too, which of course will give you better traction and better grip on the car, or the road I should say, but it will consume a bit more gas. It's great to have the front wheel drive bias though for regular driving conditions, because let's be honest, if it's a beautiful sunny day here in Canada, we don't necessarily need all-wheel drive. All right, let's work our way into the vehicle now. So this is the most exciting part. The SX model, like I said, adds tech as well as the comfort and the extra seating. So some of the spaces where we'll see that added technology comes down to the seats themselves. You got memory seats for the driver, so you can see your set button as well as your driver 1 and driver 2 save, or seat 1 and seat 2 save. You also get beautiful wood paneling along the door as well too, so it just adds a couple extra nice elements into the interior. In terms of more comfort, we have express windows all around, so all 4 windows are just a quick one touch. Car's off, so it's not going to work, but trust me, one touch and it'll go down, one touch and it'll come right back up. The mirrors are also power folding, and they will sync to your memory seat settings. So no matter how you like to drive or how you like to have your mirrors, the vehicle will save those for you, provided you actually set them up, and you'll hop into your car without a worry in the world. Driver's seat, there are so many ways to configure the seat. So number 1, it's a 12-way. We got 4-way lumbar support, a bunch of adjustments for the backrest of the seat. Then you also got the height adjustment, the tilt adjustment, and a driver knee extender. So whether you're a tall or short driver, there's always a great way to reconfigure the seat and the great function of being able to save it. The best combo is, you know, a tall and a short driver driving the same car. I hate getting into a car after someone tall drove. Oh my goodness. So this is very nice to have. I'm just going to point right over here. Michael, sorry, we're going all over the place. But we have a couple of functions here, and they're just in a great reachable spot for the driver. So number 1 is going to be the brightness adjustment. There's a lot of screen on this vehicle, so if you ever find that they're a bit too dim or a bit too bright, you can quickly adjust it on the fly without actually ever having to dig into menus within the vehicle screen itself. There's your downhill braking assist, your lift gate for, of course, your tailgate release, and then you've got your off for your traction control. The vents are quite nice, again finished in that beautiful same satin material. Then your vent controls. Light stock will be on the left-hand side, and you do have automatic headlamps with automatic high beams, your fog lamps, and then your steering wheel. Telluride is one of my favorite steering wheels because it's very truck-like, but not in a yee-haw way, just in a, you know, a nice pickup truck. It feels good, it's leather-wrapped, and it's heated, and on the left-hand side we have our volume controls as well as our media controls. So it's going to be hard to see because the icons, they blend in really well with the finish of the buttons, on camera at least. On person I can see everything, but on camera it's kind of hard. Right over there we got our talk button, so that's going to be for the voice commands. You'll set your volume either by toggling up or toggling down. You can also push it down and mute it. This is your phone button, so to answer calls, and then this little star over here is whatever you want it to be. So when you first get the vehicle and you press it, it'll probably take you to the screen right over here. This is what lets you select what that button does, so let's make it home. That means now, and I'll try to get both things in view, when I press this, it'll jump this main screen into the home menu. Check that out. So quick little shortcut button. Center airbag and horn, as well as your Kia logo, just in a nice finish, with the right-hand side housing mostly your not infotainment, but driver assistance functions. So up at the top is our smart cruise control. Press that to turn it on. You'll set your speed with the plus and minus, increase or decrease your speed, and then set your following distance here. Every time you make a change over here, it'll project onto the gauge cluster so you can actually see what you're doing. And then to the left of that, we have our steering assistance, so to turn it on or off. Right up at the top, we have our button to configure what we're looking at in our gauge cluster. And just a side note, this 12.3-inch digital display starts on the SX model. So when I talk about tech upgrades, this is one of them. Is it worth $5,000? I want you guys to let me know because again, this trim level is $5,000 more than the trim below it. But it's not just the gauge cluster, spoiler alert. You can see we have our digital speedometer if you'd like to see it. And then on the left-hand side, you have an actual gauge display instead of just the actual speed in the center. The right-hand side will be your tachometer. Check it out. And based off the drive mode that you're in, the theme also changes. So if I quickly put it into sport mode, you'll notice it has a bit of a different look to it. All right, we'll move over to the center screen now. Thank you, Michael, for grabbing the camera. This center display is also another 12.3-inch display, except this time it's a touchscreen. So great software on this vehicle. It does have wired Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and I had someone kind of not pick a fight with me in the comments on another car about this, but they weren't exactly happy with it. I will say, I understand a lot of people love wireless CarPlay, they love wireless Android Auto. Let me tell you, as someone who has had wired CarPlay for a while, I think it's amazing. I think it's quite fantastic. So number one, and hear me out, you guys, please hear me out, don't skip this part. When you do have wired CarPlay working, of course your phone's going to be plugged in. It's going to charge faster being plugged into the CarPlay than it would be on the wireless phone charger when you're doing wireless connection. So number one, your phone's charging faster and it's not overheating. Number two, I find the connectivity to be stronger. So if you're someone like me that freaks out or just doesn't love it when you go to change a song and there's a little bit of lag or delay, it's going to feel so much more just connected, if that makes sense. There's not going to be that delay, there's not going to be that lag. When you go to pick up a phone call, it's going to be instant, and the screen just always moves very quickly because the connection's wired. It's not going based off signal or Bluetooth, you know what I mean? And last but not least, if you drop your phone or lose it, flies out of place because you hit the brakes pretty hard, you can always fish it out using the cord. Can't do that with wireless. All right, rants over, let's go back to what's in the screen. So we do have built-in navigation. Of course, we got Bluetooth, all that good stuff, Sirius XM. Here's some more Telluride focused things. So we have our rear climate control. Because your rear passengers do have the capability of setting their own temperature, if that's a privilege that you don't want to give them, you can adjust it here itself, or you can even lock it. So again, if you have kids that are going to turn the heat on in the summer, yeah, just set it for them. Another thing is going to be quiet mode. So this mutes the speakers in the back. Great if you have little ones that might be trying to sleep, but you still want to listen to your music. And then passenger talk literally does the opposite. So it picks up my voice up here at the front and projects it to the speakers in the rear. So if you really have to get your point across, I'll turn this car around. It'll let everybody know, even the third row. Pretty cool function to have. It's just an intercom for the car, really. All right, I won't go too in-depth on this, but if you do want to reconfigure some of the settings on the vehicle, like the driver assistance, turn something off that you're not a fan of, you can do all of that within this vehicle settings menu. There's also a search function here that's really helpful. So daylight savings time just happened. If you need to make a change to the time on your vehicle and don't know where to go, type it in and you'll get the proper search results for it. So kind of like Google for your car. Underneath that though, I'm pleased to say not everything is screen controlled. We do have some physical buttons. So map, navigation, radio, media, your hazards button, seek and track, another favorites button and setup, as well as real dials for your volume and your tune knob. Right underneath, you'll see we got more buttons for our climate control. Heated steering wheel right over here. Temperature for myself as the driver, as well as separate for the passenger. So tri-zone climate control. And then if you just want to change your fan speeds, fan direction, rear defrost, that kind of thing. So everything's pretty straight up. A couple more advancements specific to the SX model. You got heated and ventilated seats up at the front for driver and passenger. Some nicer finishes. And then when I pop this open, you'll see that we got our 12 volts, our USB, USB-C, and a wireless phone charger. Your gear shift is a regular style gear shift, so a proper lever. You got your drive and terrain mode select right underneath. So this vehicle allows you to switch it between comfort mode, eco mode, sport mode, and smart mode. This part is always hard to film. I don't know if you guys can actually read what it's picking up over here, but you do have an amber light indicating what drive mode you're in. If you push this down like a button, it switches to terrain, so snow, mud, and sand. Like I said earlier, the vehicle does have a front-wheel drive bias, and it will redistribute the torque as necessary based off what the vehicle itself picks up. But if you know that you're going to be driving in the snow, or you know you're driving in mud, you can manually switch it into those modes so the car isn't exactly redistributing it at its kind of best interest. It will do it based off what you set it to. All right, right over here, 2 cup holders, little storage pocket up at the front, and then we got our center console with a removable slot. There is also a USB-C charger inside this console. It is illuminated, so if you go to plug in at night, you can actually see what you're doing. Close that. Up at the top, we got one of two sunroofs. So this sunroof over here is power controlled. You can open it, close it, tilt it, whatever you want, but the sunshade is manual. The sunroof in the back has a power sunshade, but the glass itself is fixed, so it doesn't open. It's just simply to look out of. Really brightens up the space though, and your rear passengers will love it. Let's hop out now and take a look at the second row. And before we do that, I'm just gonna come around to Michael's side and point out the passenger seat. Michael doesn't want to talk today, so I will explain the controls. Because again, with the SX model, you get a lot of comfort functions for the seat, and power passenger seat is one of them. So you can see the controls there. We got the height adjustment for the seat, as well as your backrest and two-way lumbar support. It's worth noting that the side sills are also quite nice on the vehicle, so you get that nice aluminum and chrome finish. All right, now before I hop in, Michael, show them around. So seats, of course, still leather back here. Very easy to move because they are on a rail system. You can bring the entire bench forwards or send it back. You can also have it just split in a way. The seats are also very easy to move when you are getting to the third row. I'll show that in a second, because first I just want to point out some of the functions on the door. So your door is going to be very similar to what we see up at the front. They didn't sacrifice the styling back here. You get the wood paneling, nice chrome handle or brushed chrome handle, power express window, and same thing, Harmon Kardon sound system. I'm not exactly sure if I mentioned the Harmon Kardon sound system when I was at the front, but if you made it this far in the video, surprise, it's got it. This vehicle also has ambient lighting, which if I don't forget, I will show you before this video ends. Also integrated into the door, we got manual sunshades. So those just drop right back into the door. Super clean. You don't have a sticker with adhesive that's on your window and is impossible to get off when you're done with it. It's just built in, super sleek. I love it. I'm just gonna move myself on the bench to show you guys what else we got back here before we hop into the rear. Got cup holders just based off the back of the center console. A 12 volts, as well as a household 115 volt outlet. The backs of the seats are going to be the same, both behind the driver and behind the passenger. You got plastic backs with an integrated hook, USB-Cs on the side, and a leather pocket with a smaller mesh pocket in the very center. So lots of space back here and lots of ways to just have convenience. So of course you got cup holders, that's pretty standard, but all these USB-Cs and just ways to kind of stay connected, either with talking to people beside you or on your phone. It's endless. Up at the top is going to be your climate control. So this panel over here is adjustable to the rear as long as it's not locked, which it is. So I can press these buttons, but it won't do anything. You guys get the drill though. Temperature control, fan speed, and then fan direction. The vents themselves are actually located on the ceiling. So if you do have little ones in car seats, it's really nice to know that you're getting ventilation to your kid itself, not knees or the seat. So airflow is very, very nice back here. The seats, if no one's sitting in the very middle, you do have a cup holder armrest. And then if someone is sitting in the middle, you have a seat. Each of these seats also have their car seat tethers, so our far left and far right seat. And for me to hop into the back, I'm just gonna press this button real quick, Michael, sorry. Pressing the shoulder button on either side will allow the vehicle's seat to move forward on its rail and also tilt itself, giving you more room to actually step in. I'm doing this the hard way. Normally you'd come in from the door, but I'm just gonna step over if that's all right and hop in. Okay, now that I'm back here, I don't have this side up, but guys, this is so easy. There we go. All right, now that I'm back here, I might actually move over to this spot so you guys get a better view of leg room. I've got a lot of headroom, so very spacious. The Telluride is very rectangular, so the height is pretty standard across the board on here. Now you are a bit more raised, of course, because of the drivetrain of this vehicle, so you're a little bit more hunched than you would be in the second row, but I don't feel uncomfortable. I could be here for a while. One thing I really do love, the windows back here are pretty big, so I still have visibility of the road and what's happening. They are tinted as well too though, so just a little bit more privacy. On the sides, you do have USB-Cs, so you can plug in your devices. You got cup holders on the side as well too, with a little bit of storage, and speakers. A couple other nice things. This is a ultrasonic sensor, so it detects motion. If you lock this vehicle and there's something in here moving, whether that be a child or an animal, let's say your dog, it will sound an alert to your phone and actually trigger the panic button on the vehicle. So hopefully you don't leave anything alive in here or moving in here. But yeah, so just a motion sensor for back here. The right-hand side is going to have the same amenities. So you got your cup holders as well as your USB-C speaker and seatbelt clips as well too. So this is very handy if you have all the seats folded down on this car and you're just using it to move stuff around, because then you can tuck the seatbelts out of the way and make sure when it's time to find them again, they're in an easy to find spot. So very nice back here. Also, I don't know if you can tell, but these seats are fairly upright when the seat on the far right is reclined. So there is a level of recline to these back seats that give you a little bit more comfort and a little bit more space. And just like I said earlier, the seats in the very center, the bench seat, are on a rail. So if this isn't enough legroom for your rear passengers, you can ask the second row to move themselves up a little bit and they will still have a ton of space for their legroom. This is just quite literally the worst case scenario for legroom. Very configurable seat. That's why I love the Telluride, and especially with the passenger 8 bench seating, there's just so much you can do with the seats here. And if you really need to, these seats will fold down completely flat as well, giving you almost a pickup truck. Enclosed pickup truck, if you will. So completely flat floor, whether you got passengers or actually not whether you got passengers. You have seats up if there's passengers.
Gabi is 6'3".
Yes, I'm 6'3", so lots of room back here. Just kidding, you guys. I'm probably 5'4", and I got space back here. Someone taller than me could also sit back here and be comfy. All right, Mike, I think it's time we answer some questions. Also, underrated function. You do have steps back here as well too, so you're not stepping onto the carpet when you walk in. And even more underrated, these doors, I don't know if you can tell, but the doors are long. They actually cover the rockers of the car. What does that mean? It means in Canada, we get so much slush and salt and just general debris from the road that just kind of cakes onto your rocker panels. So you open your door, maybe you're putting your kid in their car seat, your pant legs get dirty with so much of whatever's on the side of your vehicle. That's not the case on the Telluride because the door is actually covering the rocker panel. This area here should be completely clean. So when you hop in, when you're adjusting your kids, when you're doing whatever, loading your groceries in, your pant legs should not get dirty. And I think that's just amazing. All right, you guys, let's answer some questions. I think this video got very personal. There was a lot of opinions. I will say, I try not to do too much opinions, but if you guys ask, I will share. Okay. Michael, what are your opinions on this car?
No more opinions.
He doesn't want to talk today. All right. For some reason, I don't see the live chat right now. Oh, I found it. Mazerborn said, I always like the machine look of the silver trims and Kia logo. Yeah, I think it looks fantastic. I really do like it. I do like chrome, I'm not gonna lie. I know sometimes it can be a little bit old man Cadillac-y. That's not really, I don't know, whenever it's brushed chrome or kind of a satin chrome, it just makes it look modern and nice. The shine is always nice. What's the paint color? This is Glacial White Pearl. There's only one white available for the Telluride, and this is it. Michael, I might use your phone to show the pearl in the paint, if that's okay.
Sure.
Oh, can you turn your flash on? The pearl never really shows well on our videos, but maybe you can see it now. So there's beautiful shine and sparkle to it, lots of definition. But of course, under fluorescent lighting and in 720p camera quality, you don't necessarily see that in our videos. So truly, this is a car that you have to see for yourself, and if you want to, come on down to Brantford Kia. We are a real dealership at the end of the day. All right.
Can you see it?
Yep, you can see it there. Adele said, yep, white with glitters. Adele, good to see you on. See a lot of our regulars, Mazerborn. I saw Pat is on. Hey, Pat. David Costa's on. Bam Bam. Oh, sorry.
Ask me what a pie. The only pie I want right now is strawberry pie.
Yeah, it's Happy Pie Day, you guys. Pizza pie, apple pie, I don't know, any of it. Someone said, I can't find it now. Oh, Steven Stayrook said, old man Cadillac, he should be a color option. It should be. And you know what color it would be? It would be that like beige gold. Ooh, my grandma had a Cadillac like that. And the interior was beige too. Oh my gosh, I could just smell the leather. I remember the smell of that leather. I was probably like 5 or 6 when she had that car, and it's still like engraved in my brain. Ugh. Okay. This still has the same engine, V6, yeah, so a 3.8 liter V6 GDI engine. It's old reliable really for us. This powertrain's been great.
Yeah, I love the power delivery too.
Yes.
It's very, I'd say very linear.
Very linear, there you go, yes. Naturally aspirated is usually always linear.
I can find words today.
There you go, Michael's with the words. But I will say, especially our V6 engines, I feel like they just feel so solid. So it's just, you're not waiting on a turbo. There's no turbo lag, obviously. It's just smooth the whole time. It's a very, very comfortable ride. And you do also have a comfort mode, drive mode, which really just makes the acceleration respond nicely to your throttle input, but isn't too jerky. If you do like a little bit more of a responsive feel, you can put in sport mode, and that does feel a little bit more, but it's really up to you. So I do like the configurable drive modes. What else? Got asked what the fuel consumption is. It's 11.7 liters per 100 kilometers. I think I said 11.1 earlier, but it's 0.7. So proof that even I make mistakes sometimes, you guys. It came back to me though. And other than that, did you see any questions, Michael?
I can't see at the moment.
Okay. Are there any news of a redesigned 2026 Telluride? I hear rumors of a hybrid engine soon. So again, these are just rumors. The Hyundai Palisade, which of course is the same vehicle, a similar vehicle, is getting a refresh in its next, or is getting a refresh, is getting a hybrid in its next redesign, which is going to be for the 2026 model. So the Telluride, it's looking very likely that we'll also get a hybrid. It would make sense. I can't confirm, but it would make a lot of sense. Anything else, Mike?
Just got a new comment.
Any inside info on that PV5 van? Unfortunately not. I don't have, guys, whenever I have something that I'm allowed to share, I share it. And right now I don't even have stuff I'm not allowed to share. So imagine how I feel.
And then one other thing was tow capacity.
Yes, 5,000 pounds. I did mention that earlier on in the video, but if you're catching this video later, yes, 5,000 pounds, horsepower 291, torque 262, 8-speed regular automatic, all-wheel drive with drive and terrain modes. Anything else?
No.
No? Okay. All right, you guys, thank you so. Oh, wait, I'll answer this one. What car did Gabi bring to work today? The B4000 or the M2? The B4000, obviously. I drove the better car. I think maybe I'll drive the M2 to work on Monday, and I don't know if maybe we'll film it. Probably not, but maybe.
Probably not, maybe.
Okay, bye you guys. We hope to see you on Monday's live stream. Have a good weekend.